She didn't scream when the glass shattered. She didn't cry when blood ran down her face. Little Emma only whispered 2 words before collapsing. "Daddy, please." Rachel burst through the doorway just seconds too late, her hands flying to her mouth as Emma crumpled to the floor. Standing over the child with trembling hands was Catherine. "He made me do it," Catherine stuttered, shaking. Rachel shouted into the phone, voice breaking. "Michael, come home now. She's killing your daughter." Miles away, Michael felt a chill crawl up his spine. He dropped everything and sped home, heart pounding louder than the engine, only to find flashing lights, paramedics, and his child on a stretcher. And that's where her story truly began. Before we dive deeper, please, if you're listening to this right now, I want to prove my stepmom wrong. She said I can't even reach 1,000 subscribers. Help me show her that stories like this matter. Subscribe to Folktales with Jossy, and let's keep breathing life into tales that refuse to die. Now, let's continue. The house never felt loud anymore, not after Emma's mother died. Wind chimes no longer sang on the balcony. Music never played through the white marble halls. Even footsteps seemed afraid to echo. The mansion existed in a constant hush, like it was holding its breath, just like the little girl who lived inside it. Emma learned early how to walk soft. Every morning she tiptoed from her small bedroom down to the kitchen, hugging the walls with her doll pressed to her chest. She kept her eyes low and her lips sealed. The rules hung heavy in her mind. Don't make noise. Don't touch anything without permission. Never interrupt Catherine. Catherine had written the rules herself, neatly framed beside the staircase, as guidelines for discipline and elegance. To Emma, they felt more like silent chains. Rachel noticed everything. She was the only employee allowed to remain after Michael downsized the house staff following his wife's passing. Rachel cooked, cleaned, dusted portraits of the woman Emma hardly remembered, and most importantly, she watched. Watching became her quiet burden. She noticed how Catherine always sent Emma to eat alone, how Emma's school lunches stayed untouched, how her dolls disappeared one by one, how discipline began to sound just a little too cruel. "Why do you always whisper, sweetheart?" Rachel once asked gently while helping Emma button her uniform. Emma swallowed. "Because she doesn't like when I breathe loud." The words stabbed deeper than any scream could. Rachel clenched her jaw and straightened. Her eyes drifted instinctively toward the hallway, toward Catherine's office door that never fully closed. That was when Rachel began paying closer attention. Catherine dressed flawlessly and smiled for company. Her voice lifted like sugar when Michael was near. But when Rachel overheard the way she spoke to Emma behind closed doors, the sweetness rotted instantly. "You are difficult," Catherine would hiss. "Your crying embarrasses me. You were the reason your mother was always tired." Each sentence landed on Emma's small heart like invisible bruises. Rachel wanted to step in, but fear tightened around her voice, fear of losing her job, fear of not being believed, fear of Catherine's influence over the grieving man she barely recognized anymore. Michael was hollow now. He didn't see broken toys. He didn't hear suppressed sobs through bedroom walls. He listened to Catherine, and only Catherine, because she sounded like strength when everything else looked like pain. Rachel tried once. She stood across from Michael in his office, palms damp, voice steady but trembling. "Sir, I think something's wrong. Emma's afraid all the time." Michael barely glanced up from paperwork. "Catherine is strict, yes, but she's teaching structure. She isolates her. She doesn't let her eat sometimes. She's preparing her for discipline," he interrupted. "Rachel, we can't raise fragile children anymore." Rachel walked away with her throat burning. "What would you do if this happened to you? Would you stop, or would fear freeze your feet like it froze hers?" Days passed. Catherine became bolder. Emma's room had once been full of pastel colors and stuffed animals. Slowly, everything bright disappeared. The pink bedspread replaced with gray. The music box vanished, books removed from shelves. One night, Rachel found Emma kneeling beside her bed, not sleeping, reciting something. Rachel whispered, "Sweetheart, what are you doing?" Emma froze. "My nightly obedience rules." She recited without blinking. "I must not speak unless spoken to. I must not cry or ask questions. I must be silent to be lovable. Rachel's chest caved in. This was no discipline. This was psychological torture. So Rachel began documenting everything, recording audio, capturing photos of destroyed toys, filming Emma whispering the rules. It was terrifying. Catherine was always watching. One afternoon, Catherine caught Rachel crouched outside Emma's room holding her phone. Her smile did not reach her eyes. "What are you doing, Rachel?" Rachel stammered. I was checking if Emma needed. You're crossing boundaries." The firing notice was immediate. But before Rachel could even pack her belongings, Catherine leaned in close. "You call the police or talk to CPS, and I promise your miserable life becomes worse than unemployment." Rachel nodded. She left the mansion that evening, but she didn't stop caring. She waited in her small apartment, clutching the evidence, replaying the clips over and over. Hearing Emma's whispered rules broke her every time. Days later, couldn't stand it anymore. Rachel drove back to the mansion. She barged into Michael's office and placed the phone on his desk. "You won't listen to me. Fine. Watch her." She pressed play. Emma's tiny voice echoed through the room. "I must be silent to be lovable." Michael didn't react. He paused the video. "Rachel, kids imagine things." Another video played Emma standing beside a fridge locked with chain. Michael sighed. "You're overreacting." "Sir," Rachel cried. "She's not safe." "You've already been fired," Michael said firmly. "And now you're lying to create drama." "This conversation is over." Security escorted her out the gates. Rachel stood in the driveway as the iron doors closed behind her. Tears streamed down her face. That's when Rachel made the hardest choice of her life. She dialed CPS. "If I'm wrong," she sobbed into the phone, "then forgive me. But if I'm right, please save that little girl." Have you ever trusted someone this much just to have them completely dismiss the truth? Rachel waited helplessly for days. She didn't know that within those same walls, Catherine had grown dangerous. The CPS visit had been announced for the following morning. Catherine's careful mask began slipping. That night, while Emma sat quietly coloring at the dining table, Catherine stood behind her, gripping a glass bottle with shaking hands. "You think little videos can ruin me?" she whispered. Emma turned slowly, confused, terrified. A scream tore through the house, followed by shattering glass. Sirens sang long before Michael reached his front gates. Red lights splashed against the mansion walls, fracturing the elegant stillness into chaos. Michael slammed his brakes and ran before the car even stopped. "What happened?" he shouted, pushing past paramedics. No one replied. Rachel stood trembling near the driveway, face streaked with tears, hands covering her mouth. "Rachel?" Michael gasped. Her trembling finger pointed toward the ambulance. Emma lay strapped to a stretcher, hair matted with blood, eyes swollen shut, an oxygen mask fogged faintly with every fragile breath. Michael froze. The sight cracked him open. "No. No. No," he whispered, pushing forward until a medic blocked him. "She was struck by a glass bottle," the medic explained. "Possible skull fracture. We need to move now." Michael collapsed against the side of the ambulance. Glass bottle. Rachel's recording it played again in his head. "I must be silent to be lovable." Reality shattered. Catherine stood near the doorway, wrapped in a silk robe, trembling dramatically. "She slipped," Catherine cried, when authorities approached her. "She startled me. I dropped it." Her tears looked perfect. Rachel stepped forward. "That's a lie." Michael turned slowly toward Rachel. "What did you say?" "She threatened Emma because of the CPS visit." "I warned you." Michael shook. "Rachel, this is too much." That moment lasted exactly 3 seconds. Then CPS social worker Jane Collins entered, clipboard tucked under her arm and fire in her eyes. "We already interviewed Emma this afternoon," Jane said calmly. "She told us Catherine punished her by locking the refrigerator and destroying toys she loved." Michael's breath caught. Jane turned to the officers. "There is clear, corroborative evidence. Audio recordings. Photographs." Rachel swallowed hard and handed over her phone. Jane pressed play. Emma's whispered voice filled the air. Silence followed. Not the calm silence of the mansion, but the suffocating kind that drowns lies. Catherine's performance collapsed. Her sobbing stopped instantly. Her posture stiffened. That brat manipulated her, Catherine snapped. Officers reached for handcuffs. Michael stepped forward, finally finding his voice. What did you do to my daughter? Catherine's eyes burned. She made me angry, she spat. And so did you for caring about her so much. The officer turned her around. Ma'am, you're under arrest. Catherine tried to scream, tried to shake free, but the cuffs clicked shut. Michael didn't move. He stared after her, hollow. Everything he ignored surged back. Rachel's warnings, Emma's fear, Catherine's empty elegance. How had he missed it? How had he been so blind? He rushed into the ambulance just as they were closing the doors. Sir, you can't ride in the front. I'm her father, Michael said, climbing in anyway. His shaking hand brushed Emma's hair. I'm so sorry, baby. Daddy didn't see. The ambulance sped through the night. Inside the emergency room, surgeons rushed Emma away. Michael sank into a waiting chair. No words came. Rachel stood quietly beside him, afraid to speak. After what felt like eternity, Michael broke. I should have listened to you. Rachel nodded gently. But you didn't, she replied. Tears streamed down his face. I trusted the wrong person. What matters, Rachel said softly, is who you protect now. Doctors emerged hours later. She has severe head trauma, one said. We're performing surgery. Recovery is uncertain. Michael braced against the wall. For the first time since losing his wife, he prayed aloud. God, if you spare her, I won't fail her again. What would you trade for a second chance? Everything. Surgery lasted 6 hours. Emma was placed into a medically induced coma for brain healing. Michael never left the hospital. He slept in chairs, missed business meetings, ignored wealth. He finally became the father Emma needed too late to stop the pain, but determined not to abandon her again. Rachel sat with him each evening. Neither spoke much. Survivors don't need words. 3 days later, Catherine was formally charged with child abuse, attempted homicide, and obstruction of justice. Her perfect image evaporated. Media headlines exposed her cruelty. Justice finally had its grip. Weeks passed. Emma's condition slowly stabilized. One morning, she moved. Her fingers twitched. Her eyelids fluttered. Michael rushed to her bedside. Emma, Daddy's here. Her lips trembled. Did I break the rules? Michael fell to his knees. No, baby. There are no rules anymore. Tears slid down Rachel's cheeks. Emma faintly whispered, Can I talk loud now? Michael nodded. As loud as you want. She smiled, soft, tired, but alive. The silence of the mansion was finally breaking. Emma didn't wake fully right away. She drifted between sleep and small moments of consciousness, each time reaching for a world she had learned not to trust. But something felt different now. The room sounded fuller. Not hollow sermons. Not whispered threats. Actual voices. Rachel's gentle humming beside her bed. Michael's shaky breathing as he leaned forward in quiet prayer. One afternoon, Emma finally opened her eyes wide enough to take in the scene. She stared first at the ceiling, blinking at the light. Then her gaze slid sideways toward Rachel. You came back, Emma whispered. Rachel smiled through tears. Always. Emma turned toward Michael. He looked smaller than he used to, less like the towering man of perfect suits and distance, more like someone scared of losing everything important for the first time. Daddy? Michael rushed forward. Yes, baby. Daddy's here. She studied him, trying to understand the softness in his voice. You didn't believe me before. Michael swallowed hard. I know. Silence hung heavy. Then he added, I was wrong. What would you do if someone finally admitted they had failed you? Emma didn't answer. She only reached out for his hand. Michael took it instantly, closing his fingers around hers as if letting go would undo the moment. Tears slid freely. I promise, no one will ever hurt you again. This time, Emma nodded. Not out of fear. Out of trust. Catherine's trial happened quietly but decisively. Rachel testified. Jane Collins presented the documentation. Audio recordings played in the courtroom. Emma, reciting obedience rules. Catherine, whispering venom. No jury needed long. Conviction came swift. The judge sentenced Catherine to a long prison term with strict conditions. Her beauty and manipulation meant nothing behind steel bars. Justice was simple. Evil shriveled when exposed. Emma refused to return to the mansion. Even months later, the house felt like the enemy. Michael understood. He sold it. Let the walls that carried pain fade into someone else's memory. They moved into a smaller home in the quiet suburbs with warm yellow kitchens and windows without echoes. And for the first time, Emma played out loud. She laughed loudly. She spilled juice and wasn't afraid of punishment. She even danced, barefoot, with silly joy in the living room. Rachel officially became more than family staff. Michael asked her to be Emma's legal guardian alongside him. Not out of guilt. Out of gratitude? You were the only one brave enough to stand up when I failed. Rachel accepted, but made one promise. We protect her together. No secrets, ever again. Michael nodded. We become the family she deserves. Months turned into healing. Emma attended therapy weekly. Michael attended parent counseling every Saturday morning. Rachel attended everything: school plays, therapy sessions, bedtime stories. Life rebuilt carefully. Love stitched the broken pieces. Then, one afternoon, while drawing at the kitchen table, Emma looked up suddenly. Rachel? Yes, sweetheart? Why did Catherine hate me so much? Rachel knelt beside her. Because some people don't know how to love, she answered gently. And when love scares them, they turn cruel. Emma nodded slowly. She returned to drawing. A picture of 3 stick figures, holding hands beneath a giant sun. She held it up. That's us. Michael's chest tightened. This one, he said gently, pointing to the smallest figure. Is you the superhero? Emma giggled. No, Daddy. She pointed to the tallest stick figure. That's you. Michael blinked. Me? She nodded with sweet seriousness. Because you learned how to come save me. What would you call courage? Not perfection, but showing up when it matters most. 1 year later, Michael gave up part of his business empire, scaled back travel, canceled unnecessary meetings. He became the father who packed lunches and chaperoned school trips. Rachel became the calm heartbeat of the household. And Emma became the child she was always meant to be: safe, curious, fearless. On the anniversary of Emma's recovery, they walked onto a beach at sunset. Emma skipped ahead barefoot while Rachel and Michael followed. Daddy, can I scream into the ocean? Emma shouted. Michael laughed. Go ahead. She inhaled deep and yelled joyfully. I am loved. The sound echoed across the waves. Rachel wiped away tears. Some children learn to survive, but some children learn how to live again. Final moral and closing. This story isn't just about pain. It's about awakening. It teaches that silence protects abuse, but voices protect children. It reminds us that manipulation hides behind beauty, and truth often stands timid and alone until bravery gives it volume. Rachel's courage saved Emma. Michael's transformation healed her future, and Emma's survival became proof of something powerful. It's never too late to become the person someone needs. Sometimes healing doesn't come in perfect endings, but in imperfect families that choose to love rightly. If this story touched you, hit that subscribe button for more emotional tales from Folktales with Jossy. And even if it didn't, come on, subscribe anyway, we'll win you over next time. Drop a comment, like the video, and let's keep the stories alive. Thanks for watching.